I'm pretty concerned about the pace of progress that we're seeing in AI, and I'm particularly worried about the fact that it's just really difficult for governments and for sort of the public in general to keep up with this pace. I'm Jess Whittlestone. I'm the head of AI policy at the Centre for Long-Term Resilience. AI is quite a different technology from anything we've ever seen before. It's incredibly general purpose and increasingly general purpose, and potentially has the ability to sort of outdo humans in a wide range of domains, something that we've never really seen before. And I think that has enormous consequences. I do worry about the development of something more than human level, which sort of takes our place in the world. I also think there are a bunch of worries before we get there. AI is just incredibly powerful. It will therefore give a lot of power to the people who build it first. And it also has potential to kind of really disrupt economies, international relations. So I think it's true that we've dealt with technological change in the past. It's also true that a lot of technological change is very disruptive, at least in the short term. So I think there are worries there. But I also think there's good reason to think that AI is different, and we aren't really well prepared as a society to manage it right now. There is a shared goal amongst all these people. I think there's this term long-termism that's used, but actually, I think we all care about the long term. No one actually only cares about what happens in the next 5-10 years. The people who are worried about bias, I think, are genuinely worried about us ending up in a society that's vastly more unequal than what we have today, and things look terrible. So I think partly there's appealing to that desire, that caring about the long term that can unite people. I think the pace of progress is starting to unite people a bit, because the people who were concerned about existential threats can no longer say this is totally in the future. We're starting to see really, really powerful capabilities now. And the people who are sort of focused on the now can no longer say this isn't huge, this isn't going to totally transform the world. One final thing I would say is I actually do think it's not a bad thing to be people taking different approaches, to have some people sort of focusing on the here and now and perhaps the implications for justice, and other people focusing on the sort of bigger, longer term implications for humanity as a whole. What's maybe a bad thing is when those two groups start to undermine each other because they disagree so much. And so I do think there's a lot of important work to be done in better communicating what each group cares about and bringing them together. I'm optimistic that we will be able to navigate this transition as a society. I think a lot needs to be done to do that, but I do think it's possible that we can coordinate internationally on certain forms of regulation. We can agree these are the kinds of systems that we do want to build, and maybe these are the kinds of systems that we don't want to build. These are the kinds of systems that maybe we need to treat like they're nuclear weapons. These are the ones that we don't. I do think that is a very, very difficult but somewhat tractable problem. And I think that if we can navigate that, if we can separate out and to some degree regulate the very highest risk uses of AI, which are not necessarily that many, there is a whole range of stuff that can be very beneficial. But right now I'm sort of focused on that tail risk scenario, because I do think it's big and real, but I do think it's possible we can manage that, and that then we are left with a bunch of potential benefits.